Hi everyone, and welcome back to another art and design video for my channel. Today we are learning how to draw orchids. This particular orchid was given to my mother by our neighbor and I decided to adopt it. So this drawing of the orchid was done from observation. So as you can see, I'm starting to draw the orchid from the center and working my way outwards. And when it comes to drawing an orchid, I think the first thing we really need to understand is the basic structure. So as you can see, I started off with drawing something that looks like a butterfly in the center. That was the most shocking thing for me, and probably because butterflies have a sentimental significance to me. So I was completely taken aback when I looked at the center of the orchid and I saw this very strange shape, very beautiful shape that looked like a butterfly. So then, after drawing that center butterfly piece, I then went on to draw the 3 petals at the front of the flower. You can see that the first 2 petals that I drew curve over that butterfly shape, and the 3rd petal at the front almost looks like a snake's tongue. That's what it reminds me of, because you have that 2 slits at the front of the tongue-like shape. I found that incredibly fascinating. In fact, the more I look at these orchids, the more I realize why people love them. So anyway, once we've done the front 3 petals, I then moved on to the 2 petals which come afterwards, and they are the largest petals that are on this particular orchid. These 2 large petals sort of remind me of elephant ears. They have that shape to them. They're not quite the perfect petal shape that we're used to. They are very interesting and different. And once I was done doing that, I went on to draw the last 3 petals on the orchid. These are smaller than the 2 largest ones, and they're the more traditional shaped petal that we're probably used to seeing. So now I'm using a gel pen to outline my orchid. I chose to do this style of drawing, which is, I guess, more in line with comic book art and manga art, where you outline the drawing with a black pen, you ink it, and then you add coloring. I chose to go with this style because I do love comic book style art and manga style art. I think that drawings look so beautiful when it's done in that way, so I wanted to try something different. And I didn't want my channel to only be a realistic artwork channel with graphite pencil drawings. I wanted a variation in the art styles that I do, and I know that I haven't done this style yet. So that's why I chose to ink it. And in a moment, you'll see me grab some coloring pencils to add the very little color that these orchids have on them. Orchids come in various colors and also various shapes, but this particular orchid that I have is pure white in color, and the center areas where the butterfly is and the lower snake-like tongue petal, they have bits of yellow on them. So you'll see me add that in. I'll be using the WHSmith coloring pencils. I think they're called the Spectrum Sings or something like that, but you'll see me show you the pencil in a bit. The pencils themselves, they pretty much get the job done. They're not pencils that I would recommend for professional drawings because I don't really think they light fast, but in terms of everything else, such as layering and blending, I do think they are really good. Even if they're not as good as polychromos, I think that for the price they are pretty amazing. So now you can see me adding dots in. For this particular orchid, the 2 petals at the bottom had dots on them, and also the 2 petals at the front on either side of the butterfly and the butterfly had dots on them. But the difference is that the 2 petals which curve over the butterfly, it also had lines on them, very small lines as well as dots, and I think that's a very specific detail which should be included in the drawing just to make it a little bit more like the reality of what we're seeing. So you can see that I added in yellow around the butterfly and some around the lower front petal. And then I added a little bit of orange on whatever that thing is on top of the butterfly. And now I'm just using a grey pencil to add in shadow. So when I'm adding in shadow, I really used to methods. The first is just block coloring. The second is adding a gradient. I personally prefer to add gradients in even if I'm not physically seeing it in front of me, because I feel like it looks better on paper. In one of my tutorials in the past, I can't remember which one, but I mentioned that just because we're drawing something from reality, that doesn't mean that we have to copy everything exactly, because sometimes what we see in reality doesn't translate well onto paper. So where I feel like what I've put down, even though it's accurate to what I'm seeing, I feel like it doesn't look good, I will change it. And I will change it using my judgment on what I think will make it look better. And it's just my personal opinion that gradients do make things look better. They also create depth, which is probably why it ends up looking better. So even if I'm not seeing a gradient-like shadow in reality, I will add it in. One of the reasons why I absolutely love the WHSmith pencils, even though it really should not be used for professional drawings, is that these pencils create the most beautiful gradient. There are, however, certain things that the WHSmith pencils are lacking, such as the ability to layer several colors after burnishing. With the polychromos, even after burnishing, you can still build up color, but that's pretty difficult, if not impossible, to do with the WHSmith pencils. So if you want to build up color, you have to do it in a different way. That's it for this tutorial. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys found it useful. Please let me know if there is anything else on which you'd like to see me do a video in the comments below. And thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.